Very much indeed for staying with Morning Live. Now, after long deliberations that took place last week, there now seems to be a glimmer of hope that the South African Social Services Agency, SASSA, and the South African Post Office, SAPO, will work together on social grants. Now, yesterday, the Inter-Ministerial Committee chairperson, Jeff Radebe, announced that the two entities will cooperate to reach an agreement by next Friday. Now, the technicalities of this mammoth task will be dealt with are yet to be determined. And joining us now on the line, well, in our studio, in Durban is Evashnee Naidu. She is Black Sash KZN Regional Manager. Evashnee, a very good morning to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Morning Live. Firstly, I mean, you know, when we were looking at this earlier, there was doubts that an agreement could even be reached, isn't it? Your reaction to the news that it's still on the cards?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having us. Absolutely, we agree with you. We were actually very concerned about the proceedings and the developments, or lack thereof, and also were very concerned at the time delays. In fact, we're still concerned about the time delays, and hoping that with the Inter-Ministerial Committee being behind this process, that they will be able to fast track it and also provide the necessary resources, capacity, and technical skills that may be needed or may be lacking or gaps thereof between the relationship between SASSA and SAPO, to ensure that there is some form of a payment system in place by the 1st of April, but prior to that, that there is some form of agreement come the 17th of November.
Well, that agreement on Friday next week, are you privy to any details?
Like yourselves, we are monitoring the situation very closely and wanting to know what exactly will be the requirements that SAPO will provide to SASSA. We're also concerned about how this hybrid model is supposed to work, because as we know, they are concentrating only on the relationship between SASSA and SAPO for the moment. So it means that there obviously are going to be ongoing consultations with other service providers to continue in terms of this particular hybrid model, as well as the other services that will be required to ensure that there is a holistic national payment system.
Yeah, the whole idea, I guess, is to introduce this integrated payment system between SASSA and the South African Post Office. But do we know what the payment plan will actually look like?
Well, that is the other issue that we're concerned about, because we're hearing all of these conversations that are happening, all of these deliberations that are happening, but there is no formal plan that's been put on the table by any of these committees that are being asked to deal with this issue. And for us, we're not sure if the actual technicalities have been worked out yet. So, for instance, the Black Sash would like to know what type of a bank account is going to be proposed for the beneficiaries come the 1st of April 2018. What bank card will be used? Will it, if there are more than one bank participating, will a beneficiary have to have a bank card that's linked to a particular bank, or will it be a SASSA branded bank card? Will there be bank charges if there are other banks involved? The cost factor. We're also concerned about whether these entities that there will be discussions with will be looking at the profit motive rather than the fact that this is a social assistance program and that the cost should not fall on the beneficiary, but rather it should be curbed to as little as possible and ensure that the beneficiary gets the grant in full as was intended by the social assistance program.
Yeah, you're speaking about the beneficiary. We're talking about, what, 17 million beneficiaries, worth about 130 billion rand annually. You confident that the Post Office has the ability to handle this?
Well, for the Black Sash, we've never nominated one particular service provider, but listening to the deliberations and the ongoing discussions that have been happening over the year, SAPO has seemed very confident about their ability to pay, and we're just upset at the fact that maybe they have not received all of the necessary information that it would have led them to make the proper or necessary taking care of what they would have needed to put in place come the 1st of April, because we know even SAPO themselves have been upfront in their media statements to say that the longer SASSA takes to come to some form of agreement with them, the more difficult it will be for them to be ready come the 1st of April. And as we're noting, even the IMC and Treasury is saying that maybe there should be other role players involved in this system, so that it ensures that there is some form of proper transition between the current service provider and the plan that SASSA should put in place before the 1st of April 2018.
Evashnee, just elaborate on this gaps of information that you're talking about.
Well, as we noted from the letter that Treasury sent that was released yesterday, it seems that there was a lot of misinformation that was not provided to SAPO in order for them to have the necessary due diligence about their ability to provide all of the services to SASSA. They also have seemed to have been the fact that despite the due diligence that was done on SAPO by SASSA's request, it seems that the information that was given to SASSA was not taken into consideration, and despite the how well SAPO did in that due diligence, it still seemed that SASSA was loath to actually offer the contract to SAPO. And as we noted a couple of weeks earlier, SASSA just approached SAPO to provide one aspect of 4 aspects in terms of a complete payment system. So we're concerned as to if SAPO was the preferred service provider, as was noted by them, by SASSA requesting a deviation from Treasury, why then was there a lack of communication between the two parties? Why, there was also the issue about whether the two technical task teams that belong to both SASSA and SAPO had not actually met and worked out all of these technical issues that we still seem to be having to deal with before the 17th of November. And I even watched a statement yesterday by the CEO Mark Burns himself, who's saying that, we're willing to open the discussions, and it makes you wonder why now we're willing to open the discussions when we would have thought by now all of that needed to happen was that everybody signed on the dotted line to ensure that the processes go forward.
The SCOPA chairperson said it was a victory for Parliament and its work. You, as Black Sash, must be also proud in terms of you guys' efforts in bringing this to court as well.
Well, unfortunately, we had to go to court because we were terrified of the emergency situation that seemed to be creeping up on us, because our concern has always been about the beneficiaries out there and ensuring that the most vulnerable in our country are protected, and the social assistance rights that we have gained over these years do not become even more eroded than they currently are. So for us, while we think that we've gone quite far within a week, which could have happened over the last couple of months, until we actually know that there is a firm contract in place and we know what those terms are of that contract and how this will be rolled out, especially come the 21st of November when the IMC is supposed to report to the joint committees, and with a proper plan in place, then I think we'll be a little bit more relieved. Okay. And we'll watch the space very closely.
Evashnee, thank you very much indeed for your time. That was Evashnee Naidu. She is the Black Sash regional manager based in KZN, giving us her organization's reaction to yesterday's social grant announcement. Let's take a bit of a break. 6:42. This is Morning Live. A very good morning to you.